in terms of where we are now as a society? Because I mean, we're pretty divisive right now. So how do you bring people together, and what does that look like?
Being proactive, learning what communication is. To me, that's the key to anything in life, being able to communicate. Because all of this stuff, when it comes to police brutality, racism, all of that wouldn't exist if you knew how to communicate with somebody instead of becoming like combative. The time that I spent in life, because I'm 40 years of age, I wasn't born at night, you know what I mean? And I wasn't born last night. So I see a lot of people every day, and they talk to me and say, hey, man, you're inspiration, you this, you that. To me, I just think I'm a person that speaks for the people. And I'm trying my best to be able to let everybody know that we can stand together in solidarity and be able to make this world a better place, because if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it.
So I want to ask, why are you doing this? I think it's easy for a lot of people to look at the situation that's happened with your brother and say that you are profiting off of his death. So I guess my basic question is, why?
When you lose someone that you love so much, it can change your entire life. Because I was a truck driver. I could have slept up on the rock and never came out. But I came out to be able to fight because I didn't ask to be part of this fraternity. This is a fraternity nobody wants to be a part of. And the fact that we have all of these families who are constantly losing family members due to police brutality or racism. I can name people that's out in the forefront, like Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, Breonna Taylor, different people like that. Everybody know who I'm talking about. When I start talking about people like Pamela Turner, and I don't know if you still remember Dante Wright when he was down there in Minnesota, different individuals, people be like, what? Who? That's what I'm talking about. People are being murdered. And the fact that I went to Washington and a man was crying so hard that he told me he had a brother that was shot 100 times by police officers. That right there, it just, nobody knew about that. And it just stuck with me. That, to me, I don't want to live in a world that I can't go places. I gotta constantly anticipate death. Nobody, that's the worst thing in the world, to anticipate death, because you don't know when you're gonna die. You don't know when your kids, your mother, your father, nobody. You want somebody to be able to come home every day, because it shouldn't be an empty seat at that table. And it's not due to COVID. It's due to somebody killing your brother or your sister due to police brutality because they thought my skin was a weapon.
Are you hopeful?
I'm optimistic about everything. The key to life is never give up. And you can never give up hope, because if you give up hope, everything is deceased. But if you always believe, nobody can take that from you, because believing is achieving. Because you have Hispanics that look black too. And I get people in Brazil, they all told me the same thing. They say they're looked down upon because they have dark skin. I want to take that out of people's mind. I want that to be deleted. That's what I want.
What does the money mean to you? Just recently, Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina, those victims of that shooting were awarded millions of dollars. What does big millions of dollars settlement, what does that mean to you?
I always talk about that. To me, the money is just something to help you live better and help your family for generations to come. It'll never give you back your loved one. You know, that's gonna always be in your heart forever. Anybody that you love, because then everybody in here, they love their mom or they love their dad. It's one of them who you love most of the time. And when you lose that person, they don't have to be lost to police brutality, racism, anything. They can just be perishing because they lived their life. You're still gonna cry. You're gonna mourn, you're gonna think about them every day because you did so much with them. So just money is not enough. More people should get out and speak. Just don't be silent. You get the money and become silent, it's just like it's a gift. Okay, we paid for what we did. No, I'm gonna get out and speak on my brother's behalf because the dead cannot talk for themselves. We have to get out and speak for them.
Earlier, you mentioned that part of your organization focuses on mental health. Oftentimes in the Black community, we go to church for mental health. How has your relationship with discussing mental health and grieving changed after your brother?
You know, coming up in poverty, especially in where I came up, nobody wants to go any place for mental health. They don't, because the term is what they like to say, you're crazy. And you hear people say that all the time about somebody with mental health. Oh, they just came up with a word for somebody being crazy. Nobody wants to come out and say they're having problems. Nobody. Hell, you can have people getting food stamps and they don't even want to use the food stamp card in the store in front of people because they're ashamed. So many different things can cause mental health, but people don't look at it like that. They think that you having problems or you crazy, you know? But I think if more people get out and speak and be comfortable, you open up the doors and the floodgates would just open and people would just be constantly telling their feelings. And that's one of the biggest reasons I get out and speak. And I love talking about different things when it comes to mental health and things like that because people need that talk. They need that motivation. They need to know that they are human and I can have problems, you know? And I know I had problems before. I will break down in front of the cameras and cry all the time. And that's something that I had to learn how to withstand and overcome because I know the camera's gonna always be here. And they're gonna always wanna know your story. They're gonna wanna know what's wrong, how are you living today. And you have to get comfortable and understand if you can deliver the message, who's gonna do it for you? That George Floyd was my brother. He's not a trophy for me. He's not nothing that I'm putting on a pedestal to get any money. What I'm doing, I'm speaking up for other families, not just here in America, here, all around the world. We're tired. We want to stop the pain.
I want to talk about how tired you are, because I know that as a Black person, we are often confronted and forced to talk about race and to be experts and very knowledgeable about this, but here you are are forced and to live and relive the trauma of your brother's death. And, you know, I almost feel selfish, you know, even doing this interview, but I'm just curious, like, how tired are you right now?
Hey, you get tired of talking about it, but the fact that people are still dying, you still have to put on your gear. And it's like army fatigue. You're dressed up and you're going to battle every day, speaking for people, you know, the people with no voices. You're talking for them. This is what we have to do. You know, we're not going to war, but we're not going to lie down either. So my thing is, if we don't talk about it, they're just sweeping under the rug and just go on about their business. It's another person, toe tag, up on the ground, dead.
I'm curious, through all of your interviews, what are you not being asked by the media and by people that interview you?
Nobody asks me what kind of fish me and George caught. He didn't really know too much about fishing, and he used to get the hooks caught up in his shirt and stuff like that. And he started telling his friends how good fishing is. We would go saltwater fishing. We would catch speckled trout, redfish, and a lot of times you end up catching fish that you really don't want, like the croaker, the sand trout, and stuff like that. But I taught him how to clean fish. And I told him to take the sand trout, and I told him to get an electric fillet knife. And I told him once you start filleting it, if you can cut that skin off of that sand trout, you can fillet any fish. And he thought it was gonna take a long period of time, but it didn't. And he put the fork down and he just cut the skin right off the meat. And you know, stuff like that, you know, nobody ever talks about things like that because, you know, that's not the focal point. The focal point is he was murdered. And people know that I miss him, my family miss him. Gianna, you know, She's gonna have to go her entire life without her father. She's gonna have to relive this over and over again. The fact that when you look at George, she's gonna see a person that was her father. We're gonna see a person that was killed due to police brutality, and the man went on his neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. Chauvin and George Floyd will forever be household names because he killed my brother. And my brother was an innocent bystander. But Gianna, she's gonna see somebody who is a murderer. She's gonna see somebody who took her father from her, and she can't walk the aisle with her father. She can't have a daddy-father dance. She's fatherless. Just like so many other individuals who had the same, when I say the same, they had the same deaths, all due to police departments not getting rid of the bad cops. They show you. You can clearly see in some of the paperwork that this person was doing this, and this person was doing this, and this person complained about it, and then this person complained about it, but they're still there. But that George Floyd Policing Act that they took away, it needs to be back and it needs to be passed, because you have things like that in it. The no chokeholds was built for Eric Garner, my brother George Floyd. The no knock warrants with Breonna Taylor. You also have with people with mental health. You need to be able to de-escalate the situation and understand that communication is the key. That's it. Communication is the key. You go out for that. Police officers need to have their body cameras on at all time. Dash cams need to be on at all time. If you cut them off, you have something to hide, because it probably takes like 20, 30 seconds before it clicks back on. They're gonna have that particular roster that's showing, like, if you worked in New York and then you come to Vermont to get a job after you had just murdered someone, you shouldn't be able to get a job here. But the way it's set up, you can go anywhere after doing something terrible to someone. You can go to another police department and get a job there. We don't want that. You know, if you that much of a terrible person that you'll murder somebody and then leave that particular department because they fired you and go somewhere else to another police department, that's causing a lot of problems, and that's one of the biggest reasons that people are dying, because they're hiring the same people that don't care, and they showed you they don't care. They just there for a job and to do whatever they want to do.